$200 billion.
That is a number so large it almost loses its meaning, doesn't it?
It really does, until you realize that is the projected value of the global games market by 2025.
Yeah.
I mean, to put that in perspective for everyone listening, that is bigger than the global movie industry. It is bigger than North American sports and music combined.
And yet, despite that sheer economic weight, despite the fact this is a massive engine, there's still this lingering perception of what it actually means to work in games.
Oh, I know the one. The lazy gamer myth.
Exactly.
The idea that a career in game development is just like sitting on a beanbag chair, holding a controller, and occasionally shouting, "This level is too hard."
If only. The reality, and this is exactly what we're unpacking today, is that game development it's arguably one of the most rigorous careers you can choose.
Right.
It's this collision of high-level math, complex coding, psychological design, art, and frankly, brutal project management.
And that's the gap we're trying to bridge today. We are tearing into this comprehensive source guide, Global Pursuits, a career guide for game developers, which leans heavily on data from Let's Study. Our mission is to get past that "I like playing games" phase and really look at the architecture of the career. We're going to talk about where to go to learn this stuff, the global classroom, what skills actually get you hired, and the business side of why studios fail.
And we are definitely going to spend time on that business side. That's the part that usually blindsides young developers. They learn the code, but not the pipeline.
Exactly. So if you're a student eyeing this industry or a professional looking to pivot, let's dive in. We have to start with the anatomy of the job, because game developer is... well, it's a bit of a useless term, isn't it? Just way too broad.
It's a massive umbrella. The guide breaks it down into 3 critical pillars, which is really helpful. The first one is the heavy lifting, programming.
Okay.
And we need to be really specific here. This isn't just being good with computers.
Right. You're not the IT support person.
Far from it. You are a software engineer who specializes in real-time simulation. We're talking fluency in languages like C++ and C#. You need to understand memory management, physics, all of it, on top of engines like Unity and Unreal.
I feel like C++ always scares people. Why is that the standard?
Yeah.
Why not something, easier like Python for the core game?
It's all about performance. When you're rendering 60 frames per second with dynamic lighting, AI for 50 enemies, and physics for every explosion, you need a language that talks directly to the hardware with 0 latency. That's C++ meant. It's the skeleton of the industry.
Okay, so that's the engineering pillar. Then you have the second pillar, and this is where I think the biggest misconceptions happen. Design.
Ah, yes, the idea guy.
Everyone thinks they can be the idea guy, right? I have a cool concept for a dragon game.
And it's a lovely idea, I'm sure, but ideas are cheap. Execution is expensive. Game design, according to this source, isn't about the story of the dragon. It's about the rules of the dragon. It's the mathematics of fun.
The mathematics of fun. I like that phrase. Unpack that a bit for me.
Okay, so think about a simple door in a video game. A designer doesn't just say, there's a door here.
Right.
They have to decide, how long does it take to open? Does it need a key? If the opening animation takes 3 seconds, will the player get frustrated after walking through it 100 times?
I never thought about that. But yes, a slow door is infuriating.
Exactly. That is design. It's systems engineering disguised as entertainment.
Yep.
If the dragon's too hard, the player quits. Too easy, they get bored. A designer lives on that razor's edge in the middle.
The architecture, frustration, and reward. Oh,
Right.
that makes sense. Okay, and then the third pillar is art and sound.
Which I assume most people just think is about making things look pretty.
Well, isn't it?
It's functional art. It's about communication. Sound design isn't just background music. It's an information stream.
How so?
The specific sound of footsteps tells you where an enemy is. The music tempo tells you you're in danger. If an artist or a sound engineer fails, the player loses the information they need to play. It's functional first, beautiful second.
This leads perfectly to this warning in the guide. They call it the player versus developer trap.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of people try to enter the industry because they love playing games.
Yeah.
And the source basically says, stop. That doesn't count.
It's harsh, but it is the truest thing in this whole document. Studios care about your ability to build, not your ability to consume. In fact, being a hardcore gamer can sometimes be a blinder.
Really? How?
You're so used to the finished, polished product that you just don't have the patience for the broken, messy reality of making it.
And they mention specific skills that these gamer students usually ignore. Math was the big one.
Yes. Linear algebra, trigonometry. If you want to program a character to jump, that's a physics equation. If you want an AI to flank the player, that is pure logic. You can't just feel your way through that code. You have to calculate it.
So if you hate math, maybe rethink the programming track.
Or learn to love it because it has a purpose.
Yeah.
But here's the deeper insight from the guide that I found really interesting. The job is largely about failure.
What do you mean?
Games break constantly. A huge part of your career is just staring at a broken system, a character falling through the floor, a save file corrupting, and figuring out why. If you get frustrated when things don't work, you will burn out. You have to be the type of person who gets curious when things don't work.
That's a crucial distinction. Okay, so let's say our listener is resilient. They're ready for the math, the bugs. The next step is education. The guide is called Global Pursuits. For a reason. It pushes for this global classroom.
Yeah.
Why? Why not just stay home and watch YouTube?
Exposure. I mean, the games industry is incredibly globalized. A studio in Montreal is interacting with one in Tokyo and a publisher in LA.
Right.
By studying abroad, you aren't just learning a syllabus, you're simulating the industry. You're working in diverse teams, navigating different communication styles.
It's soft skills training wrapped in a technical degree.
Exactly. And the guide gives this really nice breakdown of the big four destinations, the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. And they each have a very different flavor.
Let's run through them. The US seems obvious. It's the mothership.
It's the heavyweight. The US is where the massive production pipelines are. If you want to work on cutting-edge graphics, complex AI, or just see how a 500-person team is managed, the US is the gold standard.
It's the blockbuster mentality.
Right. But the caveat is you become a specialist. You might just work on water effects, a cog in a very impressive machine. Now contrast that with the UK.
Which the source highlights for creativity.
The UK has a history of small teams doing weird, wonderful things. It's a stronghold for narrative design, world building. If you want to merge gameplay with a really rich story, think of games with that British DNA. The UK is the place to be.
And then Canada. I feel like half the games I play these days have a Made in Canada logo.
That's the tax credits at work, but it's created this incredible ecosystem. The guide calls Canada the pragmatic choice. It has cost-effective schools and, critically, very friendly immigration policies for skilled workers.
So a strategic path to a job.
It's arguably the best bet for that.
Yeah.
And then you have Australia, which the guide calls the balance.
Interesting.
It's a younger industry, but very innovative. The education style is very hands-on. Less theory, more, here's the engine, now build something. It's great for students who want to be hybrids, like technical artists.
So US for scale, UK for narrative, Canada for stability, Australia for hands-on work.
That's a great summary. And the guide just briefly notes, if you're pivoting from another career, don't go for a bachelor's. Look for a specialized master's.
Okay, we've covered the what and the where. Now let's get to the how. This next section is what I'd call the golden ticket, the portfolio versus grades debate. And looking at the source, it seems pretty one-sided.
It's not even a debate. In this industry, the portfolio is king.
So I could theoretically fail a class, but if I have a killer demo, I'm hired.
I wouldn't recommend failing classes, but
Yeah.
essentially, yes. A studio doesn't care if you got an A in history. They care if you can ship code. But here's the nuance most students miss. The source emphasizes one word: finished.
Finish.
Yes. Studios see thousands of portfolios with prototypes and concepts. Here's the first level of my RPG. Here's a character sketch.
That just tells them you're good at starting things.
Exactly. They need to know you're good at finishing things. Because the last 10% of a project is the hardest part. The polishing, the debugging, the UI.
The grunt work.
All of it. If you show a portfolio with 3 very small but completely finished games, start screen to end credits, you are infinitely more hireable than the person with the epic half-finished RPG.
So the strategy is start small
Start microscopically small, build Pong, build Tetris.
and document it.
That was the other product documentation. Why does a studio care about my diary? They want to see your brain at work. Why did you make that choice? Why did you design the level that way? It shows you're not just throwing things at a wall, you're engineering an experience.
And I assume stick to the standard tools. Don't build your own engine.
Please don't. Use Unity. Use Unreal. Speak the language the locals speak.
All right, let's pivot to the part of the guide that actually surprised me the most.
Okay.
I didn't expect a career guide to go this deep into management theory, but section 4 is titled The Business of Making Fun.
This is the stuff that kills studios. You can have the best art, the best code, but if you have bad management, the game will fail. The guide uses a case study of a ship-it studio to illustrate this.
Yeah, walk us through that. It sounded like a nightmare.
It's the classic future creep disaster. This studio had a great concept. They spent 6 months working, but they just kept adding cool stuff.
Let's add a grappling hook.
Exactly. Let's add multiplayer. 6 months later, they have a pile of half-baked mechanics, no finished levels, and the team's morale is just, shot.
They were busy, but not productive.
Perfectly put. The fix wasn't better coding, it was better bureaucracy.
Which sounds boring.
It is boring, but it saves projects. They implemented a feature priority board. They forced themselves to do weekly builds, meaning every Friday, the game must run no matter how ugly it looks.
And the result?
They launched on track. The lesson here for anyone listening, even if you aren't in games, is the buffer. The guide says, always add 20 to 30% more time to your plan than you think you need.
Because of the unknown unknowns.
Yes. You think it'll take 2 days to program that door? It'll take 3. Because the sound won't trigger or the texture will look wrong if you don't plan for the error you're planning to fail.
There was another point in there about data versus opinion. This feels like a tough one for the ego.
It's the hardest hurdle for creative people. You fall in love with your ideas, you think this level is genius, but then you watch a player get stuck in it. Your instinct is to say,
They're just playing it wrong.
They just don't get my vision.
Right.
But a professional says that is data. If 10 people get stuck, the level is broken, period. You have to treat player feedback as cold, hard facts.
That requires a serious lack of ego.
It does. It requires humility.
I want to ground this. The guide introduces us to 3 real students, Arjun, Sneha, and Karthik. I think their stories really help visualize the path.
Absolutely. Let's look at Arjun from Mangaluru. He's your classic enthusiast. Loved games, but had that imposter syndrome. Is this a real job?
And he was confused about the global options.
Right. So he used the guide to zero in on Canada. Why? Because he wanted to focus on Unreal Engine and real-time production, and Canada's a hub for that. But the breakthrough for him wasn't the school, it was the mindset shift.
The portfolio-first mentality.
Exactly. He started building indie projects during his coursework. Now he's not just a graduate, he's a junior dev with a ship title on his resume.
Then there was Sneha from Hubbalali. Her story was interesting because she came from computer science. She was already technical.
Sneha is the perfect example of the pivot. She had the coding chops, but she felt stifled. She wanted more creativity, but, and this is key, she didn't want to just throw away her technical advantage.
She wanted to use both sides of her brain.
So she looked at the UK. Remember, strong on design and narrative. She found a program that mixed gameplay programming with storytelling. She's now in a role where she writes the code that triggers narrative events. She's the bridge.
A valuable position. And finally, Karthik. He was the artist.
Karthik from Mangaluru. His dilemma was common. I like drawing, but I want to make games. The guidance pointed him to Australia for a course that integrated art into the engines.
What does that actually mean, art into engines?
It means he isn't just painting a texture in Photoshop and emailing it over. He's importing it into Unity, setting up the lighting, defining how light bounces off it, and optimizing it so it doesn't crash the game.
He's a technical artist.
Yes. And technical artists are unicorns. They are incredibly hard to find and very well paid because he understands the pipeline, not just the paintbrush.
It seems like the common thread here, and really this whole deep dive, is integration. You can't just stay in your silo anymore.
That's the perfect summary. Game development is a team sport. It rewards technical skill, yes, but it rewards collaborative intelligence even more. You have to move from that consumer mindset of I like playing to the creator mindset of I like solving problems.
I like solving problems. That's the shift. And frankly, that applies to just about any career, doesn't it?
It does. Whether you're building software or managing a marketing team, the ability to look at a broken process and say, how do I fix this, instead of who do I blame, is, well, that's the definition of a professional.
I want to leave our listeners with a thought from that management section that really stuck with me. The source said, studios that put out new builds often and get feedback early reach goals faster. The ship it mentality.
Fail fast, fix it, move on.
Exactly. So my question to you listening right now is this. How often are you shipping builds in your own life? Are you sitting on a project or a business idea waiting for it to be perfect?
Because perfection is the enemy of the shipped game. If you wait until it's perfect, you will never launch.
It really is. Are you waiting for the perfect version? Or are you willing to put out a buggy version, get the feedback, and patch it later?
That's a powerful way to look at it. Be the developer of your own growth.
On that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Go build something, break it, and then figure out why it broke.
Thanks for listening.
Catch you next time.